Hello, friend. Today's episode is going to be a fun one because we are diving into a personal conversation where we answer your questions that you submitted on our Instagram. And boy, it's going to be a good one. We answer questions from how we met our husbands, how we are different in funny ways as mamas, how we knew we were ready to get married, and so on and so on. This is a spicy, joy-filled episode where you'll get an insight into who we are and what our friendship looks like. You ready? Let's go.
Sisterhood podcast. We are your hosts, Maddie and Kate, and we are here to chat about all things motherhood, faith-infused entrepreneurship, and lots of real life.
We want you to leave feeling loved, encouraged, and a whole bunch of excitement for where the Lord has you right in this moment. We are so glad you are here.
So grab your coffee, matcha, tea, whatever makes you happy, and let's hang out and indulge in some joyful conversations.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. Caitlin and Maddie here, and we are so excited for today. We might get juicy. It's going to be fun. All the things. We asked you some questions to give us on Instagram, personal, marriage, life, all of the things. And we are going to answer your questions today. And we are so pumped because there's some fun ones in here, some serious ones, some deep ones, some light ones, all the things. Yeah. So we're just going to jump right on in because there's lots of questions and we can't wait to answer them for you. So first up, drum roll. The first question is, how did you meet your husband? Maddie, take it away.
Okay. We met in kindergarten. Went from kindergarten through high school together. We were in the same kindergarten class, first grade class, all the classes. Went through high school together. He went to a different college than I did, and then he couldn't resist and followed me to North Greenville. He transferred, and then we got married, and here we are. Kindergarten. What about you?
So kindergarten's kind of crazy. Mine's a little more like, what the heck? So Hunter and Sean both worked at Bilo, which that's both of our husbands, in case we didn't mention their names. That's both of our husbands.
My husband's Sean. Her husband's name is Hunter.
Yeah, there we go. So they both worked at the Bilo 10 minutes from my house, and my best friend was like, hey, you should come work at Bilo. And so I went to work at Bilo, and I remember, I think it was my first or second day, Hunter and Sean were both bag boys, and only one of them was at work the 2 days in a row that I worked, and I thought that they were the same person for a hot minute. But they definitely weren't. There was one day that I walked into work and there was two of them, and I was like, oh, those are two different people and I don't know which one's which. But anyways, apparently Hunter had it out to... He was crushing on me from the beginning. And
Hunter knew what he wanted.
Exactly. And lo and behold, about almost a year into knowing each other, we ended up dating, going to the same college. And now here we are, all married and stuff. And
such adults.
Such adults. But it's weird because we literally met at Bilo.
I know. Wow. Thank the Lord for Casey. She's the one that told you to go work there.
And for Sean. Because Hunter would not have worked at Bilo if it wasn't for Sean.
Wow, how it just works together. I always say every girl that Keegan encounters from kindergarten on, he's getting a picture with her,
just in case.
If it works out like me and Sean, you never know. That would have been so cool to have millions of pictures and videos.
I know
now. So yeah, any girl in kindergarten and on, he's getting a picture with. He's probably gonna hate me, but oh well.
That's funny.
Anyways, okay. The second question is, what is one of the hardest things with being your own boss? Ooh, probably boundaries, saying no.
Yeah.
We don't get the opportunity to step away from work and completely cut it off.
Right.
There's always something that needs to be done when it comes to running your own business. And so it's just the constant being honest with your boundaries and really keeping to those boundaries and saying no.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And then it also leads into the balance of work and life. So all of that kind of goes together. Definitely having those boundaries and setting them keeping and like staying with them helps like with
Mhm.
work-life balance. And that's been like the hardest thing that we've honestly faced over the last like 5 or so years.
For sure.
So yeah. All right. Number 3, what marriage advice would you give to a newlywed? So we're going to give you like the cliche Sunday school answer for the first one. And that's keep Jesus first and your marriage second. This is so important. I always talk about priorities and how like your priorities matter, and like the order that they're in is really important. And like for me, I always say Jesus first, marriage second, family third, then friends, then work, you know, like, and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically keeping Jesus first is so important, because I've always like been told, you know, you can look at it like a triangle, like you and your husband are the bottom 2 corners and Jesus is the top. And when you're running at Jesus together, the closer that you're going to be as you move closer and closer to Jesus. And that's like a really cool picture of like keeping Jesus first in the way that you'll grow and like be more and more close to your spouse. And so that is the first thing.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, if you don't have Jesus first, and it's hard, it's not always easy to do that, but because life happens and the busyness of life happens, but remaining true to like Jesus is our first priority in our life and in our marriage. When that is the case, like everything does work out. And there's so many times where I'm like, well, Sean and I both, we not necessarily stray away, but we get distracted because we feel like, you know, we'll just fix this problem, or we'll just do it right. We'll just solve this right now. But instead of us trying to do it, if we were to just like focus on what the Lord says and having him at the center, like it would all work out. So I know sometimes it's not as easier said than done, but keep Jesus first in your marriage second, and try to outserve your spouse every single day. And this is something that we learned probably like a year into our marriage. Instead of, especially like after having Keegan, we really learned this, but instead of trying every single day to like see who can see like, okay, I've done all this, like Sean has to do all these things because like I'm expecting him to do it because I've done X, Y, and Z. Instead of having that mindset and having a mindset of like, okay, I want to outserve him and that's my focus. I'm just going to keep serving. And he just serves alongside me, and he has that mindset of, I just want to outserve Maddie and outserve our marriage and outserve our life. And when we have those mindsets together, where our focus is on that and not focused on like, okay, well, that's not fair because I got up with Keegan this morning and like I had to do all this morning. Like he should be doing this. And that's, if our focus is like that, we're just going to have like a negative approach to each other. Our days are just going to feel like we're running in circles and never like working together, but we're like working against each other. And so having this like outserve your spouse mentality really has changed the game for us.
Yeah, same. And also it kind of shuts out that like unrealistic expectations that you put on your husband or vice versa, because like you're trying to outserve each other. And so you like in your head, you're not like, oh, well, he needs to do that. Like instead you're able to like come back and be like, well, you know what? Like, let me do that for him because I want to be selfless. And so that is the second way. And then third is communication. And we want to scream this from the rooftops, because if you're not communicating with your spouse about expectations, about like how you're feeling, and the list goes on. If you're not communicating, literally things are just going to go down spiraling and things are not going to be good. And so communication helps you to like be on the same page. It helps you to like be vulnerable with each other. And there's so many like things that you can communicate about that like you both, like it's going to benefit both of you in your marriage, and it can make or break your marriage. And so we highly encourage you to like really focus on like communication and always come back to, am I communicating well? Is he communicating well? And if you ever need to like pull the communication out of your husband or vice versa, like try to be like open and like communicate your feelings and don't bottle them up, because it's going to do more harm than good.
Preach. Yes. For sure. And I know the question was asking about advice for newlywed, but take our advice, what we're giving right now, and like really try to hone in on that, because this is stuff that, we've known, but like we've really like refined and learned over the last few years of being married.
Right.
And something that I wish, like the whole outserve your spouse, like I wish we would have started to do that when we were newlyweds. And so, yeah. Okay. Anyways, moving on to the next question that kind of piggybacks off of that. What is your favorite thing about your husband?
So my favorite thing about Hunter, I have many favorites, but if I had to pick one that I really want to talk about, it is that I love his ability to like take control of situations and just like be a true leader. And I feel like there are so many moments when like I need him to step up and be a leader, and he always does it. He's so good at leadership. And there are moments when like in our marriage when I haven't let him lead well, and it shows, and he's voiced that to me before. And it's just so cool to like watch him like be a leader in so many different areas in our marriage, in his job, as a dad. Like he just does leadership so well. And that is literally one of my absolute favorite things about him.
Yeah, he is a good leader for sure. And my favorite thing about Sean, like you said, I have a lot of favorites. Oh, God.
So sweet, so tender.
So sweet. Yeah, my favorite thing about Sean, I've noticed over knowing him for our whole lives pretty much, is like he loves to serve people, and he does it with a heart of like humility. And he does the hard stuff that like no one wants to do. And also he loves to serve without getting credit, and like he loves to do it kind of behind the scenes. And that just speaks a lot about his character, and that he's like willing to do the hard, gritty stuff that like no one wants to do. And it's behind the scenes, and he doesn't need the praise, glory, or anything like that. He just loves doing it and making people feel good. And so he's just a really good, like, he's very good at just serving people and being very humble in that. So
yeah, I definitely see that. Our husbands are great. We love them a lot. We hope that they listen to this tidbit of this episode.
They better listen.
and let us know, because we're talking really good about this.
Yes.
Okay, so the next question is, what is one funny way you differ in being moms? Maddie?
Okay. I think a funny thing is like, Caitlin, I'm all about like the whole, I'm kind of by the book, I think. Caitlin is very much so like, whatever, I'm just going to do it this way. I don't care. Like one thing that I think it came out last year or the year before. So like, you know, at the hospital when they go to like suck the baby's nose out or their throat out, they have like this like snot sucker bowl syringe situation. It's like blue, whatever. Green, blue. And now they have this snot sucker, like baby Frida snot sucker, where you like, it sounds disgusting when I explain it. Like you have like this tube, it goes in your mouth, and like you suck their boogers out with your mouth, but like it can't get in your mouth. Okay. But like, I think
so disgusting.
I literally love that thing. Like it is great. And Caitlin,
I do not own that. Okay. I will not buy that. If someone bought it for me, it would be going to the Goodwill. Like there is no chance I would ever do that. I stick by the bulb that I don't have to put my mouth on. I think it's disgusting. I always said like one of the main reasons that I was always like afraid to have children is because I hate bodily fluids. Okay. I am not trying to suck that out. I don't care if it goes in my mouth or if it doesn't go in my mouth. Like, ew, no, like,
Sean's the same way. We've had it since Keegan was born, and he will literally not touch it. He's like, that is disgusting. And when he's seen me do it, Sean's like,
yeah, honestly, I would say that's like the funniest way that we differ as moms. And also, so when we're out in public, Keegan, Maddie's baby, loves to just like scream, and she's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, he loves to.
And
talk
I'm like,
super loud.
I'm like, Keegan, do whatever you want. You can scream if you want. Like, get all that attention.
Yeah,
like
this one time we're at like dinner or lunch or something, and Keegan is such a vocal child, and he doesn't like to talk quietly. He likes for it to be very, very loud.
He likes to like yell.
Like he wants everyone in the room to hear that he is talking.
Yes.
And so we're like having lunch and Keegan is just like, blah, 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 and like loud, like very, very loud.
And I'm like,
and Keelan's over here hyping him up. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh no, oh my gosh. And I'm like, Keegan, shh, okay, like let's talk right here. And like Kaylin, she was like, Maddie, he's fine. Like no one's looking. Okay. I turn around, everyone is looking. Okay.
But it's not a big deal.
I was like, everyone is looking. And she was like, nobody's looking. And I was like, okay.
Listen, I only said that because I know that you don't want people to look, but like for me, I'm like, oh, everyone's looking, like everyone's interested, like babies like are loud or whatever. And so I don't know. I'm one of those people that I'm like, if you want to be loud, you be loud.
Yeah.
You express that personality, baby boy.
She is Keegan's hype queen because she will literally encourage it. And when he starts to know what she's doing, like I'm really in for it because she's gonna be like, yeah, go do it.
Go yell. Don't tell your mom I told you to do it. Just go do it.
Exactly.
But anyway, so that's kind of like how we differ as moms, just some little funny things. But okay, moving on to a more serious question.
We're serious.
How do you have such good friendships? I'm struggling with finding good friends. Okay, first I want to say we have an entire episode on how to pursue Christ-filled friendships. Go and find it. I think it might be episode 10. It might be different than that, but go find that one. And it's a really good listen because we talk a lot about like pursuing those really good friendships. But we're going to come in with a solid answer for you here too.
Yeah. So first, our relationship is founded on Jesus. We met through our husbands. But from the very beginning, like we're very similar.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. But we always say like if you listen in on a conversation with us, which you guys get the opportunity to do every single Wednesday.
Yep.
There was really not even in an intimate conversation between me and Caitlin, and no one else would hear it. Jesus is always brought up.
Yep.
We always talk about like what the Lord's doing in our life, things the Lord's like trying to teach us, maybe some hard things the Lord's walking through. And it's not because we're like holier than thou. It's just like our relationship is founded on the Lord, and that's very important to us. And we can't help talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also just in general, like we as humans, women, like we just yearn for connection and community. And at the end of the day, we want people in our corner who rally around us. And so something that I live by, a motto that I've stood by for years, is that you need to surround yourself with people who uplift and encourage you. And that is so important. The Lord didn't intend for us to do life alone. You are meant to walk in this earth with connection and people around you to help you carry your burdens and to love on you. And you really need to like hone in on those deep connections with those people who are going to rally around you in the hard times and the good times, and that they're going to see you at your worst and still love you for it, that they're going to call you out when you're doing something wrong or when they believe that like you're out of line, but that they also love you through all of that. And that they're just all around, like all for supporting you and loving you right where you're at.
Yeah. Mic drop. I have nothing more to say. For real. For everything she said, find friends like that. Preach.
Absolutely.
And those will also be friends that are going to be lasting. They're not going to be those ones that come and go. Our friendship has probably been like the longest friendship I've like really had, where it's been a very deep friendship.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, moving on. You said everything I wanted to say. What is one thing that you love that Beckett's doing right now?
Okay, Beckett's doing a lot of new things as of like literally like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
But
so crazy how that happens.
Okay, I'm going to name like a couple. So one, he's doing this cute little nose crinkle smile, and it's like so cute.
Yeah.
So he's doing that. 2, he is finally starting to try to army crawl. For those of you who don't know, my child is ginormous. He is in the 100th percentile for his head and his height. And so he's and 97th for his weight. So he's huge. He's ginormous. And he has the hardest time like trying to crawl because he cannot like lift his body, and like poor thing is going to have like to have Superman muscles to like do these things. But anyways, he's finally starting to try. He doesn't love it, but but he's starting to try, and I love being able to see him like really try to do that, because he's been like whining about it for a really long time. Really long time, because he's so dang heavy.
He is huge. homeboy, when I hold him, like we don't go together because like he's literally like half of me.
Yeah,
He's
legit.
so big.
Yeah,
he's a big boy.
Yeah,
Super healthy.
Okay, so what about you with Keegan?
Keegan is at my favorite age right now.
You say that like
I know.
everything.
I feel like that's gonna happen with me every time. Like I love the older he gets, the more I love. But then I also look at pictures when he was a newborn, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how was that just like a few months ago? But yes, he's my like favorite age he's been, and it's because he has such a personality, and he has like he's so on the move, and I don't know, he's just really, really cute right now. So he's like super mobile. And if you see me on Instagram, I have a broken ankle, which is a very terrible time. Really, really unfortunate. But he is so mobile, and he crawls like speed lightning fast. And he's like started to try to walk. He'll take like 2 steps, let go of something, and like stand there for a minute, and then like try to walk. And he busts it every single time. And that's fun because he's learning. It's fun, but he also does the whole nose crinkle thing, and he'll randomly like you'll just be sitting there and he'll look up at you and be like, and it's so cute. He like closes his eyes and smiles. It's so cute. He's about to be 1, so crazy, but he's at a really, really fun age.
Oh, I love that.
Little Keegan, little baby
Keegan's gonna be 1. Okay, so the next question is deep, and I'm going to let Maddie speak on this one because I personally do not have any personal experience with it, but have either one of us dealt with postpartum anxiety? And then the person who asked this just said, like, she hasn't gotten herself to, like, be able to leave her baby with other people, which is totally understandable, but I'm going to let you take that one away.
Yeah, so I have never really, like, been fully diagnosed with anything like postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, or anything like that. But at my 6-week appointment, the 2 doctors told me that I have like very big signs of postpartum OCD, which I didn't even know that was a thing. And we can talk about that a whole nother episode because I have a lot to say about that. But these feelings that you're feeling, not being able to leave your baby with other people in a nursery at church, or you just literally feel like you cannot leave your baby. I had those exact feelings. I specifically in the church instance, I felt like every single time I was going to leave my baby, they were going to get sick and die. And those feelings, that's me being very transparent, those feelings are not normal. Well, they are normal for us to have them postpartum, but they're also not normal to continue to have. But I didn't know what I know now about postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, postpartum OCD. What I know now, I'm so much more equipped when I have another baby, because I just, in my head, was like, I just am a hormonal wreck, like after having a baby. Like these feelings are probably like, really normal, but they honestly are not. And so having these feelings of you're terrified to leave your baby because you think the worst case scenario is going to happen. That's not normal. And you're not alone though, if you feel that way. But I encourage you, if you do feel that way, don't wait like me and be months and months into it and be like, oh my gosh, okay, this still isn't normal. Like, why am I still feeling like this? Like, I encourage you to reach out to someone to get help, and also find a friend. Like, I'm here to talk to you and encourage you to walk through that. One thing I have learned through all of this is so much easier said than done, because so many people told me this, but for real, surrendering, like everything, surrendering in this instance, church, like surrendering that it's okay to drop your baby off in a nursery at church and they're going to be okay. And it was so hard for me to do that. But I remember the first time, I never felt like I was going to be able to do it. Like, I remember going to church every Sunday, and Sean was like really letting me lead in that. Like, when I'm ready to leave him, we could leave him in the nursery. And I remember that one day walking into church, we were literally stepping into the doors with no expectation of him going to the nursery. And I said, I'm ready. And I really was not. But in my head, I was like, I'm doing it, because if I don't do it today, I'm never going to do it. Yeah. And through that, like dropping him off, realizing he didn't get sick. He didn't die. He was completely fine. He had fun. And like, it was okay. I learned like, okay, I can do this. But it was a battle that I fought, not just with like him going to the nursery at church. It was a battle I fought through a lot of different things. Yeah. Having to choose like what mindset I have. And it's I don't have to choose the worst case scenario every single time. But postpartum anxiety is real, and I don't want you to just like brush it off like this stuff is normal. Like I said, get help, talk to me. You can reach out to me, get prayer, seek counsel, find people in your corner that can cheer you on, that love you, can help walk you through this season, because it's not forever. So we can talk about this a lot more in another episode.
We have a whole episode in mind where we want to talk about postpartum feelings in general, because mine and Maddie's were extremely different, extremely different. Yeah. And so we really want to talk about that. So stay tuned for that episode. But until then, Maddie gave some really great advice. So yeah. Awesome. Okay. So the next question is, how did you know when it was the right time to get married? So for me, I remember wanting to get married, wanting to get engaged my senior year of college, like ASAP. And I was just like ready. I was like, okay, well, it's like time to graduate college. That means we have to get married. And like, LOL. But me and Maddie went to a Christian private school where ring by spring is a very serious thing. And that was just like what I had in my head was, oh, ring by spring. Like I'm going to get engaged in the spring right before we graduate. And then we're going to get married right after. Well, that was not Hunter's idea of a good time. And so even though I really wanted to, really, we were not ready, even though I thought I was. And so I have a lot to say about this. I'm not going to go into deep detail, but I think one of the biggest flaws in our society today, and the reason that a lot of engagements get broken and a lot of marriages early on get broken, is because women are more concerned about the wedding than they are the marriage. And I think that's a whole episode. And so, I feel really strongly about that. But I think at that point, I was way more ready just for like the big like wedding. And then when that wasn't happening, I was starting to get really discouraged. Like, is he even going to want to marry me? Like, why is he not? Like, we're going to graduate and then what? Like, there's nothing else. Like, we need to get married. And so in that season of life, the Lord really started to refine my heart and like really helped me to look inward. And I realized really quickly that like I wasn't actually ready for marriage and that I needed to really like prepare my heart for that. And so the Lord took it was about a year actually before I got engaged, that he really like prepared my heart and showed me like things that were like wrong with my own like heart and self and like where I wasn't ready. And I realized like it's not all about like, is Hunter ready, or like it's all about the wedding. Like, no, it's more about like, where's my heart at? Like, what are my intentions for wanting to get married? And, are they in the right place? And so, I finally realized, it was about a couple of months before we actually got engaged. I was like, I really feel like I'm ready for marriage. Like I'm not just ready for the wedding. I'm ready for marriage. I'm ready to marry Hunter. I love him so much. I just have so much love for him, and I'm ready to get life started with him. And so I think that there's like a turning point in your mind where you go from being ready for the wedding to being ready for marriage. And I think that there is a point where you will know the difference if you really look inward. If you're not paying any attention and you're just like, you're not actually looking at the posture of your heart, there's a good chance like you could get engaged without even thinking about marriage and you're just thinking about the wedding. But when you're actually ready, I would say is the point where you have like a turning point in your heart and soul where you know like, okay, I'm ready to do life with this person. I'm not just ready to have a big party. And so that's when I knew it was the right time. It was a couple months before we got engaged. And when we did, engagement was so fun. And like, it was so cool to like prepare for marriage instead of just like the wedding.
Yeah. I have a lot to say. Like you said, we need to do another episode on this. We got married very young. Sean was still in college. I had just graduated that December. We got married that following March, so a few months. And honestly, like when we got engaged, like you said, we were honest, but we were engaged at this point. We were not ready. Like and even looking back now, we're totally different people. And like we were not ready. We were truly like doing it in the sense of like, that's the next season of life. Right. And that's something that the Lord's taught, like refined in both mine and Sean's heart over the last like few years of contentment and not like really looking for that next step or that next season of life, but being very content with the season that you're in. But in our heads, we were like, okay, like Maddie graduated college. Sean was online. Like he had like 2 classes he was finishing. He was already working in his career. And we were like, okay, so what does it really matter? Like let's just get married. Like it's supposed to happen. It's the next step. But it wasn't, like you said, until like a few months before where like in premarital counseling, where we started learning like things that we didn't love about ourselves and things that we really needed to work on. And when we started working on those things and really focusing on more of who we are and who we're going to be when we're married, and instead of focusing on like the next season of life and a wedding, focusing on more so like us, our individual selves, and our marriage that's about to happen, I think was like a really big turning point for us, because we were like, okay, well, we're still young. We're not perfect, but we're willing to like grow together. Or we want to do life together forever. We love each other unconditionally. And that's how I guess we both kind of knew. But I think the question you asked is something I know this person asked, how did we know when it was the right time to get married? And then the question that you said was, like focusing on more, are you focusing more on a wedding, or are you focusing more on like, I want to spend life with him? I think that's a great way to see if you are ready to get married. Like if you are at a place where you are just like, I want to get married because I want the photos and I want this whole big shebang. And like, I'm so excited to plan a wedding and like all this stuff. But the wedding day is one day. Like you plan this whole thing for one day. And I remember like after our wedding day, we were like laying in the bed, like looking at each other like, oh my gosh, like that's it. Like all this planning and this day you've thought about your whole life, it's over. Like, and so at that point, you have to do life with this person for the rest of your life. Yeah. And so if you're only focusing on, I want to get married because of a wedding, then like it's not going to work out.
Yeah, exactly. And that probably means you're not quite ready, because marriage is hard, and we're not going to sit here and say it's easy. No. You have to work at it every single day. And if you're not at a point where you think that you can choose to love that person every single day, because the honeymoon stage of love, it really does. It dissolves. Like it slowly, like you have to wake up and choose to love your spouse every single day. And that's just true, because when you fall in love, like that's not the real picture of love. Love is sacrifice. Love is dying to yourself. Love is selflessness. Love is not just like a feeling. It's a choice. Mm-hmm. And you learn that whenever you get into marriage, and whether your honeymoon stage lasts for 3 months, a year, or 5 years, at some point, you're going to have to wake up and start to choose to love that person, because marriage is hard, and being a human right beside another human is really hard, and it's easy to get frustrated with each other, and arguments happen. And at the end of the day, like you have to be ready to choose to love that person more so than just being ready to put on a white dress and walk down the aisle.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's good. That's so good. For sure. Because like you said, a lot of people say like the first year of marriage is the hardest. I mean, I think that we walk through things like our first year of marriage that obviously we don't deal with now because we're older. But that wasn't our hardest year. And that was cake compared to like having a baby and, you know, having other feelings of like, I'm exhausted. And I know we've talked about that before, but where you have to wake up every single day, you get in these rhythms where it's really easy to not have to like love your spouse intentionally. You can like go through the motions of the day, but instead being like, okay, snap out of it. Like we're choosing to love each other. We might be arguing, and like you have to choose, like Caitlin said, like loving your spouse every day, waking up being like, I'm going to serve the heck out of them, even though I'm livid with them. You know, like you have to choose them every single day, choose your marriage every single day, even when you're mad at them. So,
right. And marriage is a beautiful thing. So when you're ready for it, freaking go for it.
Yeah. Preach.
And going off of that, the next question someone asked is how to enjoy being engaged. So this is like something that's really fun for me to talk about, because I've heard I've heard both ends. I've heard people hate the season of engagement, and then I've heard that people love the season of engagement, and I really don't hear any in between. But for me, engagement was like one of the best seasons of my entire life. I loved it so much. And so as far as like how to enjoy it, I would say we're going to give you some practical like advice, because I think that the practical things play a lot into it. And so the first one is setting an adequate amount of time to plan, AKA, are you going to get married in 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, or more? And I think that that is something that you have to think through as far as like, are you going to plan the wedding? Are people going to help you? Are you going to have a planner? Like, where do you live? When will people have to travel? Like, there's a lot of things that go into like, you know, setting an adequate amount of time and like setting a date. And so if you're making it short and sweet, you better be having a simple wedding with not a lot going into it. And if you're having a super elaborate wedding, you need to set like so much time, because like, I don't know, as far as planning goes, just it can be stressful. And I think that it will make or break like that joy that comes in that season.
For sure. Yeah. Set your expectations, know what you want. If you want to just like run off and elope, then you don't need that much time.
Right.
Like, go do that. If that's what your heart desires and that's like what you envision for your day, go do that. But like you said, if you want this big elaborate wedding, it can happen in 4 months, sure. But like, you probably are not going to enjoy your season of being engaged, because you're trying to get all of this planned in a very short amount of time. And then I think also like not just counting down the days until your wedding, but really enjoying the season of being engaged.
Yeah.
And not just being like, okay, 100 more days until we're husband and wife. But yeah, that's great. And I know you're so excited to get married, but also this is the last time that you can focus on like your singleness and your heart without having your spouse. And so really trying to refine those not so pretty parts of your heart before you step into a marriage, I think would be really good. So reflecting on your heart and growing your relationship separately, but also together. And I also, like, a big one, premarital counseling, for sure. Do that
100%. You need that. And I think that it's not just going to make you enjoy the season. It's going to make you enjoy your person more. And it's going to reveal a lot of things to you, good and bad. And I think it's really cool to learn new things and like work on those things in that engagement season. And that's going to bring you a lot more joy, is just like knowing that you're working towards that future marriage.
Yeah. And premarital counseling was so great because you're talking about things that, you know, you probably wouldn't necessarily have the conversation before. Sure, you can talk about sex in your personal life with each other. Like, what do we expect? But when you're in premarital counseling, talking about things of like, I remember for us, we talked about I'm the oldest of 5 kids. Sean's the youngest of 4. So we talked about birth order. That would never be a conversation we would just have because it's not really something that I even knew until premarital counseling. But now having that, like being equipped with that knowledge of knowing how different we are as people because of our birth order, like helps us work through like things that we are maybe be arguing about or just trying to work through. It helps so much knowing that like how I respond as an older child, how he responds as the youngest child. And then, premarital counseling, make sure you really try to do that. I know some people overlook that because they don't think it's necessary, but it really is necessary, because even if you think you know your spouse so much or know the person you're about to marry, premarital counseling, especially like from a biblical standpoint, it's going to be so helpful in the long run of your marriage. 4 years in, we're still using the stuff that we learned.
Yeah. And like she said, even if you think you know your spouse, I dated Hunter for almost 5 years before we got married. And I know that sometimes people get married 2 years into dating or whatever, but I still learned things about him and about like you learn things that you think about each other that you would never voice out loud unless you were asked. And so it's just really cool. But then last, make sure you still date during your season of engagement. This is so important. Like date your spouse, but date your fiance. Make it fun. Enjoy the season of calling each other fiance. Like, and at the end of the day, like, don't stress. Don't stress about the wedding, because at the end of the day, like, this is a season you're never going to get back. And if you spend your time stressing, then you're going to hate it. And you're going to look back and be like, why did I stress over a single day in my life when I could have just enjoyed the time leading up to getting married? And so anyways, that is our advice. We loved being engaged. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was so fun.
And we think that everyone should enjoy it. So
yeah, I always tell my clients or friends or anybody that's getting married, I'm like, please really enjoy this season of engagement, because it's not like how you're married and you have a baby and you can have another baby. Like, you get the season back maybe.
Yeah.
Engagement, you really, like, you're committing to this person forever. So you're really not getting the season back. And so it's really, really fun to just walk through it and have so much joy.
Yeah. And okay, so last but not least, what's a weird quirk you notice about each other? So this one's kind of interesting, because it's always one of those things where you notice quirks about someone, but then when you actually are asked and you have to think about it, you're like, crap, I can't think of any. And so anyways, a quirk that I've noticed, Maddie has many, and I notice them often, but one of the quirks that I've noticed about Maddie is that she repeats words all the time. So for instance, she'll be like, hey, Caitlin, can you bring me a forky fork? Or she'll be like,
that's
she'll
a
be
good
like,
one. Forky fork. I like that one.
Or she'll be like, we'll be like out on, like, it'll be nice outside, and she'll be like, hey, Caitlin, you want to go on a walkie walk? And I'm like, but she always adds like a E to the first time. So it's like a walkie walk or a forky fork or I don't even know what else. Like,
I do this very often.
She does it with everything, and she's got me doing it. Like,
yeah, I had noticed you started doing it. And it's funny because I didn't even know it was a quirk until Caitlin pointed it out. Like, and she didn't even really tell me. She just kind of posted it on Instagram about me. She was like, a funny thing about Maddie is she repeats everything twice. And I was like, I didn't know anyone. I really didn't even realize I did it until she said it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do it all the time. But I've noticed you started doing it.
Okay. It's fun. I like your quirk.
I like the double words. It's fun, for real. You should try it. Okay. What about you? And you're going to have to watch the YouTube video of us talking right now to see it, because it's something I have to show. But Caitlin always goes like this. You're going to laugh because I've never said this to you. You go like this. You go. 100%. She always does her fingers like this, like the okay sign. And she shuts her eyes and says 100%.
Oh my gosh, I've never noticed that.
Oh, okay. Watch the YouTube videos and watch us talk from like all the podcast episodes we've done, and watch you do it.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. I do know that a lot of times I'll also go like,
I'll
do that.
You do that.
I'll do the okay sign and go, okay. Like, and I'll click my mouth.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
You do that one for sure. Okay, that was funny.
Oh,
I just came up with that one.
Oh my gosh. Hey, that was good. I didn't realize that.
I don't know if I have any more.
I don't know.
I can literally, if I watched you all day, I could.
I know.
You said the word literally a lot.
I know.
That could be one.
I do. Maddie has me saying this, and she doesn't even know that she's where I heard it, but she always will go, oh, 1,000%. I do 1,000%. And like do the head roll.
Because 100% isn't enough. I know. I really do that a lot. I actually noticed that I did that.
Yeah.
Actually, this is very recent. I was like, I say 1,000% a lot to everything.
And so, of course, I started doing it too. It's like one of those things where you're just around someone all the time. So you
kind of
pick up on their little things, but that's hilarious.
That is. Okay. Wow. I wonder what y'all's weird quirks are. And maybe you've noticed some about us too that we don't even know from listening to us talk.
Probably.
That would be funny to like know what if they have any about us. Let us know if you do, because we want to know.
Oh yeah. Go DM us on Instagram, because I think that those would be funny conversation.
For sure. Anyways. Okay. Well, those are all the questions we have for today. I say that and like we didn't just answer a lot. We literally just answered a lot of questions.
Yeah, we did.
But I'm really glad you guys got to enter in on a conversation between Caitlin and I. This is kind of like our conversations on a daily basis.
Yeah, for real.
Just talk about random things all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I hope that maybe something we said you can take, or maybe it was just a fun conversation to listen to while you're driving down the road.
Maybe it gave you a laugh for the
hopefully it made you laugh. For sure. Anyways, we love that you're here and we appreciate you guys more than you know. And we launch new episodes every single Wednesday. So come back next week and we'll see you then. Hope you have the best week ever. We're cheering you on, praying for you. We love you and y'all have a great week. Bye.
We had so much fun getting to hang out with you today, and we hope that you're feeling encouraged, loved, and full of purpose. If you've enjoyed today's podcast episode, we would absolutely love it if you would write us a review so that we can hear how we encouraged you. And if you haven't subscribed, go do that right now. Also, you can join the sisterhood by finding us on Instagram at The Refined Sisterhood. Okay, friend, we hope you have the best week, and we will see you in the next episode.